Good morning. Well, it's time to start talking about some of the things that have been going on. I was doing TV show for 5 years, and I would have been discussing the recent events, also having to do with, well, I suppose from the election debate until the assassination attempt on Trump. I just have to say that, it's a nervous giggle, isn't it? Because there's nothing funny about it. There's something very absurd about the situation. But I wouldn't say there's anything funny about it. Not yet. Too soon. Although people are making some jokes about both candidates. But a little serious right now. I thought of a few jokes, but I don't want to get into that. We've got the two oldest candidates ever, and one of them looks on the edge of eternity, and the other was brought to the edge of eternity, and when he was grazed by a bullet on the ear. I can tell you, this year reminds me of 1968. Now, for most everyone, 1968 is a long, long time ago, and you read about it in the history books, and it doesn't really mean anything to you. But 1968, in March of that year, Lyndon Johnson who was the president, said, "I'm not going to run for office." He retired rather, and only died a few years later. He was 64 or something like that when he died. A young fellow in many ways for a president. One who's not assassinated, that is. And we also had, in April, Martin Luther King was killed, and then, let's say, Robert Kennedy was killed in the first week of June. That's both by assassins. And then you had the complete horror of the Democratic Convention in Chicago, where Mayor Daley sent out the police and National Guard, and they battled with students right across the central part of the city. And that was a real mess. Broke a lot of people's hearts, but we're still around, so don't let things break your heart so easily. Life is full of these hard challenges. We all know that in our personal life, don't we? So, and it doesn't end beautifully for anyone. But what's been going on is a series of absurd events. I read a lot of Camus when I was a kid because I was studying French, and they made you read some books, and they throw these books at you, and occasionally you might get lucky and it might open your mind. And one book that hit me by Camus was the myth of Sisyphus, I think it's called. It's about Sisyphus who rolls the stone up the hill. You know the story. Rolls the stone up the hill. Just when he gets to the top, it rolls back down again. By golly, life's a lot like that. You achieve things, you spend your whole life achieving things, and at the end the stone rolls back down the hill and somebody else has to push it. Fill the place where you were. And they will, as long as we don't destroy ourselves. I guess the thing is, 1968 was even worse than what we're seeing now. What we're seeing now, we can handle. There are able people who can fill in for either candidate, Trump or Biden, should they falter. And at some point, certainly in the next after these 4 years, a new generation will take over, and it's high time, because these are new challenges, and it's affecting their lives and their children's lives more than it's affecting the people in 80-year range, for sure. I guess you'll give me that, won't you? I think take a step back, take a deep breath, and maybe read about 1968 so you'll see what I'm talking about. If you're not, I don't know, maybe you're a history buff and you know about it, to quote Norm Macdonald. I don't know how many of you are history buffs. But let's give ourselves a break. Let's give other people a break. And let's not try to think that not everyone out there who has a different view from us is necessarily evil. It's a ridiculous idea. People, great minds can disagree, and they often do. And that's part of the dialogue, or the many-voiced conversation that should take place in a democracy, in a republic like we have, or even in a monarchy like the British have, some of the European countries. Well, that's it. Do not despair, as one of my professors used to always say, right before giving me a D in his class. Do not despair. I always, it's probably a good mantra. Maybe we should put it on t-shirts and wear it. See you later.